Hello, everybody. Welcome to the You Are Worthy Network. We're at the close of another, hopefully, productive and good week for all of you. The week after Thanksgiving, that's just crazy to think we're already a week removed from the holiday, and Christmas is fastly approaching for sure. I just want to take a second to encourage you guys because I know we're in that in between holidays, and for a lot of folks, it's full out busy. Maybe you still have shopping to do. Maybe you're not going to do that online and you're going to do it in the stores. You're a brave person if you're doing that, but that's the way we do it back in the day, right? And maybe you've got family events to go to. Maybe you have work parties to go to. Maybe you've got the long to-do list and deadlines at work before you take some extended time off. I just want to remind you, slow down. Slow down. It's all going to get done. And if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. And in all that hustle and bustle, don't forget the reason for the season. And also, don't forget to slow down and remember that you are worthy and that your story's not over yet. I'm grateful to be able to remind you of that today. So, welcome. Sit in, watch us for a little while, be encouraged by our awesome guest today. Let's dive in. I'm going to tell you about Evangeline. Evangeline Pescasio is a certified coach, speaker, and trainer, and as well as certified family and parenting coach from the John Maxwell team. She is certified health and wellness coach from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and National Board Certification for Health and Wellness Coaching. She is also certified for mental health coaching from Light University. As an RN, she has served patients in various units, including OB-GYN, pediatrics, medical surgical transplant, ICU Stepdown, Neuroscience, epilepsy, and stroke units. She has also served as Director of Staff Development for Four Seasons Nursing Home in Westland, Michigan. She has been instrumental in implementing 3 transformation grant projects in healthcare, such as the Primary Care Transformation in Michigan, the Transforming Clinical Practice Initiative in 3 different cities in Washington State, and the Whole Health Program in Seattle, Washington. Through these pilot projects, she has helped hundreds of patients with the prevention and self-management of chronic conditions as the full-time certified complex case manager. She has served as whole health RN, health and wellness coach, and is a part of the faculty facilitating and teaching whole health education also in Seattle, Washington. She is passionate about serving, inspiring, coaching, and empowering people so they can experience true healing. True healing, wellness, and lasting transformation, and live a joyful, meaningful, and victorious life. She's been married to her husband for 29 years and a mother of 2 beautiful and talented young women. During her free time, she loves reading and writing books, coaching, gardening, cooking, listening to inspirational music and podcasts, playing with her dogs, Milo and Coco, and hiking or traveling to beautiful places with her husband, Ernest, and daughters, Kathleen and Vanessa. She's also a published author of the book and a workbook entitled Restored, which aims to inspire, encourage, and empower others. She would be delighted to hear about the impact it has made and how she can continue to support you. And then we'll tell you a little later how you can reach out to Evangeline. I was reading that Bible, Evangeline. It was that in your spare time. After reading that, I was like, what spare time? That is a lot you have done and are still doing. But we'll get to that. Evangeline, welcome to the You Are Worthy Network.
Thank you, Steve. I'm so happy to be here. Super excited. It's a joy to talk to you, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm glad you mentioned about slowing down because that's what I learned the hard way. So I'm doing that more and more intentionally.
That's the key word right there, right? Intentionally. And trust me, when I say something like that to the viewers, I am talking to myself first.
Same.
I've been known to have way too many plates spinning.
Mhm.
And I think we tend to wear those as a badge of honor, but I've learned in recent years that no one is really good at multitasking, if you think about
Yes.
it. You focus on one solid thing at a time. But anyway, um,
Yes.
so are you in Washington? Or are you in Michigan now?
No, we just moved to Arizona. I love moving.
You totally threw me
From
off. I didn't even know Arizona.
from the coldest to colder to warmer and sometimes warmest. Yeah, we love the sunshine, so it's one of the reasons
Yeah.
we moved.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Michigan got hit with that storm that hit the Midwest, but they got a foot of, Midwest got a foot of snow in a lot of places. Goodness, it's too early for that.
True. Actually feel bad for others who, I
So
mean, it's a beautiful it's a beautiful place, but for me, I gotta listen to my body. It needs the sunshine.
yeah, I've never, well, I take that back. I've been to Arizona. However, I
Mhm.
don't remember it because I was a baby. So
Oh,
I need to get back to the West
yeah.
sometime to
Time
see
for a
how beautiful
visit.
it is. Yeah. I've got a friend that lives close to the California Arizona border, so maybe one day.
Just don't visit in the summer. That's what I'm gonna recommend. Not in the summer.
Yeah, I've been to Vegas and I'm sure the temperature's similar. I will say living in the South, my experience with Vegas, you tell me if Arizona's different, and I'm sure it depends on the part of Arizona. I remember getting off the plane in Vegas, and yes, it was like that heat hits you, but
Mhm.
it was very bearable for me because it is
Oh,
that
okay.
dry heat. The humidity in the South's much more overbearing, in my opinion.
Okay. Sometimes I like the humidity because, I grew up in the Philippines. So sometimes I'm like, a little humid is okay, not too dry. So,
Yeah, 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 for sure. So are you in the Phoenix area or another part of the
yes,
state?
yes, in the Phoenix area. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very good. And so you're there with your husband, but your daughters are grown, is that right?
Yes, my husband's here. Our kids were in Seattle, but they moved recently also to Washington. They love the beach. I do love the beach too, but it's too expensive for us to move there.
Yeah. Did you get to see them for Thanksgiving, your
Yes,
girls?
yes, we try to every time like birthdays, holidays, we try to get together and cook and then have fun and have a little bit of discussions and how families are, right? But at the end of the day, we give grace, we come together and we love each other and that's really what's important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so are you a grandmother yet?
Not yet. Not maybe I'm looking forward to it, but I know my kids are very much passionate like me. They have a lot of dreams and goals. And so I'm happy that they are like my oldest wants to apply to law school. So I'm like, you're not gonna get married until you're done. So are you worried about that? And she's not. So I'm happy where they are. I'm excited to have grandkids because I love babies and kids. I love them. Like they're no matter whose kids they are, I love, just look in their eyes, give me joy. So I gotta prepare more for that. And they gotta prepare too. So, but I'm excited. That's one of the things that I look forward to.
Yeah, law school, yeah, that the family stuff will have to wait a little bit.
Yes, yes. Initially, they wanted to be doctors, and I tried to say, maybe think about it more, you know.
Yeah.
So since I'm a nurse and I've seen all the things that happen there, I'm kind of a little, I want them to experience more fulfillment in what they do and really find their true passion, right? So I'm
Sure.
glad because being a doctor, being a nurse, they're both very rewarding at the end of the day, but they also are very stressful. Maybe the most
Mhm.
stressful
Mhm.
jobs you can have. So.
Yeah, they're certainly way up there on the list. I agree.
Mhm.
So have your girls been out of the house long?
Maybe more than 5 years. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So we're empty nesters, but we have a dog and we see them as much as possible. We try to connect every day through text or sometimes calls. And we try to not really call them, wait them for them to call us, but we connect with them regularly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. That's good. So, your resume is quite impressive, quite extensive. Um, tell us what you really wanted to do
In my
in your
life when
younger
I grow
years. You know, see, I didn't say
when I grow old.
that. We're all asking that question of
I
ourselves today,
know.
right? But was it in the nursing area or was there something else when you were younger?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna be in the nursing profession my whole life. I mean, I will always be a nurse, right? As long as I renew my license and you
Right.
cannot take the nurse out of me anymore. No matter where I am, I just am naturally caring, and I have the skills. I can assess, people and environment even if I don't, you know need to. But anyway, um, after being there for 33 years, I've seen so much suffering. I've seen so much pain, and I've also had my own share. And so I will always be in the caring profession, but I find that coaching is one of those that I really love the most. When I see people becoming the best version of themselves, achieving their goals, and that I'm able to give them the time to listen and to let them know that somebody cares for them, to me, that's even more rewarding than the physical doing nursing, right? Because in nursing, sometimes you don't really have, especially when you're employed, you don't really have that much time to spend with them because you have like sometimes 7, 8 patients. Even when I did the clinical job, it can be a lot. Plus, with coaching, you're not just focusing on the here and now, but what is it that sometimes gets in the way of them getting better, and where do they want to go versus where they are right now. So to me, that's very empowering. It starts with caring for them. I will always start with like the nursing part of it, being there, caring, having compassion, being kind. Those are always part of the coaching process that I do. I do motivational interviewing where they share to me things that they haven't shared to anyone else. So to me, that's very powerful. And I think I always say this, I'll probably do it for as long as I can, as long as I'm here. And ministering to people, telling them, about the love of God that I have experienced, His healing, His restoration. That's a very great opportunity to be able to impact other lives. So,
Amen.
yeah.
I want to take you back for just a second, and then I'll bring you forward again to coaching because I definitely want to hear more about your coaching. Um, so of all those, I don't know the right word, but all those different departments
Mhm.
that you served in the nursing arena, which one was your favorite?
I love the neuro department. I love the brain. I'm amazed at how the brain works, how God created our brain to function, even to change, right? Even to after you've been for a while bound by the things that, tried to, uh, I would say, like steal your identity. There's an opportunity. No matter how far you've gone, there's always an opportunity to change. There's always opportunity to improve your mindset and your thinking about yourself more than anything. Because if you don't have a positive mindset about yourself, then even though God has given you so many gifts, so many talents, there's always a lid. There's always something blocking, right? The favor, the blessings, the gifts. So I'm amazed at how we can it's called neuroplasticity, but I think it came from the Bible also that says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So that's a lot of hope that science and the Bible agrees that we can improve, we can change the brain pathways, and we can have the life that God designed, the life that He originally intended for us, no matter what. So to me, that's the hope that I want to share to everyone.
I love that. I love that. At some point in your career, you must have made a decision. Obviously, you joined Maxwell, you got into coaching. About when was that? How many years ago was that?
That was 2019 when I first joined Maxwell, but I was working full time still, and I was working at a clinic. I'm already doing coaching as part of the case management for chronic disease, because to be able to help them achieve their goals. For example, some people want to be off of medications, who they want to lose weight, they want to quit smoking or quit drinking, quit alcohol or drugs or things like that. You have to be able to let them know that first of all, they are heard, they are seen, they are valued. So that's a big part of my success in helping people with case management and coaching is so many people feel um, so like they're judged or nobody understands, that no one relates to them. So because I've been through so many adversities in my life, I people say I'm very relatable and I'm very approachable. And I think that's one of the first steps for people to trust you, to tell you what their struggles are and what they hope to become.
Yeah, it's so true. Okay, so there's a ton of niches out there,
Mhm.
and you're a family and parenting coach, right? So tell us what you do and how you help him. Just give me paint the whole picture. Why that niche, why you love it, and who you help.
Actually, my niche is very holistic. So I believe, that we are created spirit, soul, body, which sometimes in the medical field, we focus mostly on the physical. We forget the soul. And if we do that, even if the physical is nurtured and all of that, you're doing your exercises, you're eating healthy, if you are not taking care of your soul, you're not feeding your spirit. I've seen that again and again, how the body still suffers because whatever happens in the mind, right, in the soul, is going to manifest in the physical. So this is why, for me, initially, it was very hard to niche down. I always felt like, you cannot separate all these different parts of your life, your, physical, emotional, relationships, because relationships is such a big part. I find out, from helping patients how most of the time they come to the emergency room because they are having a hypertensive crisis or their blood pressure is through the roof. But then when you talk to them, you'll find out their daughter committed suicide and they can't forgive themselves. So I have so many of those stories, and that's why
Mm.
I chose to be very holistic, whole person approach. I've always been passionate about uh, finding the root causes because I have been in many, many situations where my coworkers would come to me because they can't seem to find how to help this person or this patient. And they see that in me that I am naturally able to help patients like they were having a crisis and yelling at everybody and very frustrated, and then I'll talk to them and they calm down and they're able to smile and they're laughing when they leave. So I was always being asked, how do you do that? How do you make them respond to you? How were you able to, put the NGT or the IV in when no one else because they were so agitated? So I think that's a gift that I didn't notice in myself before, but because so many patients and coworkers were mentioning that, I would like refer patients to psychiatrists, for example, or psychologists, and they would, or therapy, and they would come back to me and would tell me, they feel like other people have the diploma or the certificate, but I have the gift. And so I always have to emphasize, I'm a nurse or I'm a coach, but I'm not a licensed therapist. So, because it's so holistic that people find clarity, we usually are able to find the root causes for the suffering or the illness. So I love that approach.
What would you say, give you a chance to brag on yourself a little bit, because I know you normally wouldn't do that, so I'm going to let you brag.
That's okay.
What, what would your clients say you help them with the most? Maybe give us two things that you help them with the most.
Two things.
I'm sure
Clarity.
there's many more than two, but
Yes, I know. Sometimes it's hard to single out, right? I am able to help uh, coaches or patients, usually in the area of relationships, marriages, um, parenting. Those are the usual things also that my friends call me for, for advice. Also, of course, I already have two. The third one is if they have something that no one can answer, for example, for their medical condition. I think I have a gift of assessment because I do the whole person approach. I look at all the areas. I don't just look at the symptoms.
mm,
So I think that's where people say that I'm very different in my approach. Plus,
mm.
I always pray before I see somebody. I pray for them. I pray that the Holy Spirit would lead and supply the words that this person needs to hear.
I love that. I love that. Tell me if my thinking is right on this. So, coaching on marriage, parenting, most people are not proactively
Mhm.
looking for coaching. You're
Yes.
getting some situations that are pretty intense, I would imagine. Is that fair?
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, not everybody is willing to admit that they're struggling in the area of marriage or in their parenting. I think so many people that has shame, you know. That's why, I mean, sometimes I could be guilty of that also. And I know where you're gonna go to that question eventually, maybe ask me where some things that I struggled with, but sometimes it's hard at first unless you're matured and you understand that everything happens for a reason and there's a purpose for everything. At first, it's hard to admit why this is happening to me. We enter into a marriage hoping that it's going to be successful, right? No one enters a marriage hoping they can divorce eventually if this doesn't work out, right? And so for most of us, we love our children and that's why we have them. But sometimes we also forget that our work becomes our identity, and somehow, without knowing it, somehow you succeed in one area and then the other area suffers. You have to
Hmm.
sacrifice sometimes time with your children. And I mean, a lot of times, and that's why I said I sometimes was guilty of that, especially when my kids were younger. I got so passionate about nursing that somehow I didn't notice that my kids needed me more than, the time that I was giving them. So I think those are some areas that's why people don't readily or right away ask for help from others or reach out, is they try to resolve whatever issues first. But this is what I noticed when I worked with dying patients. One of the most common regrets is that they worked too hard and they forgot about their families, or they didn't give enough time to their children or their wives. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many marriages suffer.
Well, I'll comment on that because that is so true.
Yeah.
And I just had this conversation Sunday afternoon with my
Mhm.
oldest son, who's 17. He's a senior. And I think I shared this on another episode. So if you're watching this and have heard me share it, I'm gonna share it again because this is the dialogue you and I are having now. But we have one child that's already out of the house,
Mhm.
and I was out running an errand, and the spirit really wore me out.
Mhm.
I'm leaving parts of it out for time, but was really wearing me out about needing to sit down with my son and have this very conversation that you're talking about. And what I mean by that is, um, I was starting to reflect back, like he's not going to be under the roof very much longer. Now
Mhm.
he's, there's no hurry for him to go, but when you get 18, you start to spread your wings and all that. So it was me starting to realize that sand in the hourglass was starting to go faster, or so it appeared. And I said, I have spent quality time with him, and my wife and I were very intentional, especially in their really developing years, to get quality time with them one on one, or if I would take a business trip, or even to a wedding or a funeral out of town, I would always try to take one with me, to have a couple of overnights with them. So we did our best. Nobody's perfect. Um,
Mhm.
but he was heavy on my heart. And we sat down and talked, and it was a little bit of an emotional conversation for me because I was feeling like I could have done more. and I still can do more. There's still time. Um,
Mm.
and fortunately, I didn't have to wait till my deathbed, which hopefully isn't around the corner. but
No.
but he was very affirming in the
Mm.
parenting and very affirming in the
Right.
intentionality, very affirming in the love and the respect, which I think God knew I needed that.
Mhm.
But it wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have had the conversation. And we've recommitted to doing even more, over the next year. So I love that. Not only obviously you've practiced it in your own home, but you see the benefits of it, and you're encouraging them to do the same. And I am sure you have helped many, many couples, but I'm also confident you've seen some that were too far down the line and didn't end so well, which is heartbreaking, right?
Yes. Yeah, and sometimes there were times where, I keep going back to when they ask me, my personal opinion or what recommendations, and then they keep going back to it's never gonna change. That breaks my heart because
Mm,
I've also experienced that in my own marriage, and I believe that I'm able to help others because I've been through so much also. Um, what I'm grateful for is the faith and the hope that when we realize how much God loves us, He doesn't leave us where we are. He's preparing us. I used to ask Him why this is happening or why this happened to
mhm.
me when I had very good intentions and I thought I was very close to Him, even starting from childhood. But I probably didn't have the same foundation that you had. You started with, being a pastor, and I'm sure you've learned. Actually, most of the people that inspired me are pastors, and I wanted to be one when I was younger. But when I had pastor patients, they were the ones who told me, you don't have to be a pastor because what you're doing is already ministry.
It's a
The moment you enter the room, the moment you smiled at me, you were already ministering to me. And
right.
so I believe that. And so, even though I didn't have great foundation, I had models. I always was sitting in front of the church. It's an evangelical church that I grew up in, even though most of my folks were Catholic. I was very hungry to learn, and I am so blessed that those pastors have inspired me and have helped me to know that life, no matter how hard, doesn't end here. That God is always up for something good. And so when I hear like couples or wives or husbands to say, it's only gonna get worse from here, that really breaks my heart because I've
Mm,
seen God's faithfulness in my own life. My marriage is very far from perfect, and I admit this to my kids. They've had their share of struggles because we didn't have a very good foundation. But I don't have to focus on that. We can keep moving forward, we can keep learning, and we can keep surrendering. And for me, that's what, I used to be ashamed of talking about my failures. But I wrote my book, even though at first I'm like, what are people gonna say? People that I know. So what I thought that time was if there's one person who's gonna benefit from the book, from my story of brokenness and overcoming that, then I've done, that's worth, the pain that I've been through. So
yeah,
yeah.
I I definitely want to come back to your book in a second. Because you've already kind of planted the seed.
Mm.
if you're listening out there and your marriage, there is no perfect marriage.
No.
But what I want to say is to those of you watching that your marriage is very, very rocky, and maybe you have the mindset like a couple of Angeline's clients, excuse me, about it's only going to get worse or it's not going to get better.
Mm.
That I understand,
Mm.
but God is bigger.
Mm.
And you guys, a lot of you don't know this about my story. I'm not going to get long-winded about
Mm.
this, but my wife and I were 48 hours away from her
Mm.
seeking a divorce attorney.
Mm.
God is bigger. He redeemed
Mm.
our marriage, and
Amen.
that was 22 years ago next month.
Wow.
And our marriage is better now than ever before. We're going into, I think we've been married the same amount of time as Evangeline. We'll be married 30 years next summer. So all
Wow.
I'm saying is it's not too late. Seek
Mm.
him, let him do the heavy lift. You'll have to do your part. And both of you will have to
Yes.
seek him with everything you've got. But anyway, I'm getting on a soapbox. It's not too late. If you're watching, it's not too late. It is
Yes.
fixable. I'm a testament to that. Tell us about
Yes.
your book. I'm excited to hear about your book.
Yes. So my book is a story of my journey in overcoming the things that I talked about, the difficulties, starting from poverty to experiencing depression in my 20s after I finished college. And also stories of people that I've been able to help and serve. It's really a story of hope and healing. Because I want people to know, what breaks my heart the most is like people thinking of or committing suicide,
Mhm.
especially, I know people who've been through those, and I'm so grateful that I never have thought of doing that, despite of the things that I've overcome. But that's the last thing that I want to happen. When I left my previous job, there was this young nurse who asked me, "How how are you able to stay calm in this place, in this very toxic, critical situations?" And I shared a little bit, but because I was, taking care of patients at that time. I wasn't on break. But she asked that question. I thought it was just out of curiosity because she was always joking and, making fun of situations. But I didn't know she was struggling. And when I left the hospital, a coworker called me and said, "She's gone. She
Mhm.
committed suicide." And, at that point, I thought, of course, I'm not God, right? I can't stop things from happening. But I thought I could have, shared to her about the hope that I had. When people ask me, where'd you get the wisdom or the compassion or the empathy? I used to say it's from all the things that had happened to me, the difficult situations that I have overcome. But really, I shouldn't be ashamed of sharing of the hope that really transformation without God is not long lasting. You
No.
might be able to change for a little bit, but if you didn't accept Christ and you don't have the Holy Spirit, it's hard to sustain that change. And so for me, that's really what fuels my passion. That's what helps me to still believe in that vision no matter what I see or no matter how hard or no matter how long it takes to fulfill, those promises. So that's why I wrote the book. I want people to have hope, even if, it's just a little glimpse of hope that would let them know that they're not alone. That's the purpose of me writing the book.
And
Yeah.
is the book's called Restored, right?
Yes. It's called
Uh,
Restored,
there you go. Got
Hope
a
and
workbook
Healing
too.
for the Lost and Broken. Yeah. And then the workbook is entitled the same.
And where can folks pick that up?
Yeah, it's about, I know, yes. Yeah, if you, it's available on Amazon. They are both on Amazon. Yeah.
In case you guys didn't hear that, because
So if
Evangeline
you,
cut she you cut out for just a second. Um, it is available on Amazon, she said. So just wanted to make sure that was heard. Um, so what's next for you?
that's a great question. That's a great question. So what's next is, so I've been praying about this since I joined Maxwell back. I left Maxwell for 6 years and I just came back last June. Um, I know that I want to continue coaching, but I also want to pursue speaking more because I know I can reach more people if I do speaking, sharing about these things, right? The hope and the restoration and the healing that comes from Christ. I know I've been able to help people in those clinics and hospitals, and I want to bring them outside. That's why I left my nursing job last year. I know God is calling me to expand and to reach more. And so with speaking and facilitating trainings, I believe I can influence more people. I can reach more. Um, because if I take care or if I um, train the people who actually cares for people instead of me just doing what I used to do, if they feel valued, and that's what I've been able to do in nursing home where I served as an in-service director and professional development director. When you take care of the people who takes care of people, then you have more influence. It multiplies what you're able to, what God is able to accomplish through you.
Sure.
So, yeah, it creates a ripple effect. If the caregivers or the nurses, when they feel cared for and valued, that would reflect also and create a ripple effect to the people that they take care of. So,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Makes sense. Where can folks find you? Are you all over social media? Do you have a website?
I'm not very active on social media, but I'm on Facebook more often than all the others. I started updating my LinkedIn and a little bit of Instagram, but I have a website that I can, share or type in this chat. And they can reach me through Facebook Messenger. That's I'm on there every day. And
Okay.
if you want my phone number, I can also give that,
I
provide
wouldn't
that.
encourage you to do that here,
Okay.
but um,
That's why I asked.
yeah, yeah, I wouldn't do that here. But we will have all of your links. We'll put that
Mhm.
in the description notes here in
Okay.
just a few minutes so everybody can learn more about you that way. And we'll also put the link to the book into the
Mhm.
notes
That's
so
awesome.
you guys can find that. And any last words of encouragement for our viewers?
I want to say, we all have moments when sometimes we feel unworthy, right? Sometimes we question if the calling that God has for us is really where He wants us to go, right? Sometimes we have self-doubts, and that can that can be rooted from, the foundations again, the childhood experiences. But I would say that no matter your past, no matter what you've done or what people did to you, God is able to redeem anything, right? He conquered
Yep.
death. He conquered, he has experienced everything that we can ever experience in this life. And so we can relate and we can learn from him. And as long as we seek him, as long as we spend time with him, there's nothing in our past or even in our present, if you're struggling right now, that cannot be redeemed. And so there is always hope. There's always that light. And there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes it's in that difficult, lowest point in our lives that we become so broken so that we can be whole again. And when that happens, when we heal from that brokenness, when we allow God to pick up and put back the broken pieces of our lives, we're not going to be the same again. We're going to be, you know, a very awesome, a much better version of ourselves than before the brokenness. So,
I love that. We question the calling God has on our lives at times. No matter your past, God can redeem anything. There's always hope. I love that.
thank
And
you.
Evangeline, I just want to thank you for being with us today. You know, when I read your bio, it's very, very impressive. Truly is. Um, but what's more impressive than your bio is your heart. What I
Mm.
got out of this time together is you passionately love God, you love people, and you're a servant. And I love that about you. Thank you for being our guest today. It's been wonderful having you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I love your heart too. And I pray that you would have more people share, things like this. I know you have a heart for sharing His goodness. And so I really admire you for that and for being obedient. This is not easy, balancing family and ministry and doing things like this. I know it can, get a lot of your time and energy, but I know that at the end of the day, this is also what energizes you. So when you're able to help people have hope, have believe in themselves once again, right? And to really help them become the better version of themselves. That's very fulfilling. So
I appreciate that. It's humbling. It is work, but I'm having the time of my life getting to meet people like you, getting to let wonderful folks like you share just a little bit of their story to the world. It's my honor and it's humbling. So thank you. Guys, it's been awesome. As we leave, as you get ready to head into your weekend, just one reminder: your story is not over yet. God is not done with your story yet. Be encouraged, stay blessed, choose gratitude. We'll talk to you soon. God bless.